I'm going to read chapter 9. My father makes a bridge. Now my father walked back and forth along the bank, trying to think of some way to cross over the river. He found a high flagpole with a rope going to the other side. The rope went through a loop at the top of the pole and then down the pole and around a large crank. A sign on the crank said, "To summon dragon, yank the crank, report disorderly conduct to gorilla." From what the cat had told my father, he knew that the other end of the rope across the river was tied around the dragon's neck, and he felt sorrier than ever for that poor baby dragon. If he were on this side, the gorilla would twist his wings until it hurt so much that he would have to fly to the other side. And if he were on the other side, the gorilla would crank the rope until the dragon would either choke to death or have to fly back to this side. What a life for a baby dragon. Now my father knew that if he called to the dragon to come across the river, the gorilla would surely hear him. So he thought about climbing up the pole and trying to go across the rope, but the pole was very high. And even if he could get to the top without being seen, he'd have to go all the way across, hand over hand. Now the river was very muddy and all sorts of unfriendly things might live in it. But my father could think of no other way to get across. He was about to start up the pole when, despite all the noise that the monkeys were making, he heard a loud splash behind him. He looked all around in the water, but it was dusk now. The sun was going down and he couldn't see anything. "It's me, Crocodile," said a voice to the left. "The water's lovely and I have such a craving for something sweet. Won't you come in for a swim?" A pale moon came out from behind the clouds, and my father could see where the voice was coming from. A crocodile's head was peeping just out of the water. "Oh, no thank you," said my father. "I never swim after sundown, but I do have something sweet to offer you. Perhaps you'd like a lollipop, and perhaps you have friends who would like lollipops too." "Lollipops," said the crocodile. "Why, that is a treat. How about it, boys?" And a whole chorus of voices shouted, "Hooray, lollipops!" And my father counted as many as 17 crocodiles with their heads all just peeping out of the water. "That's fine," said my father as he got out 2 dozen pink lollipops and the rubber bands. "I'll stick one right here in the bank. Lollipops last longer, you know, if you keep them out of the water. Now, one of you can have this first one." The crocodile, who had spoken up first, swam up and tasted it. "Oh, delicious, mighty delicious." "Now, if you don't mind," said my father, "I'll just walk along your back and I will fasten another lollipop right to the tip of your tail with a rubber band. You don't mind, do you?" "Oh, not in the least," said the crocodile. "All right, can you get your tail out of the water just a little bit?" asked my father. Yes, of course," said the crocodile, and he lifted up his tail. Then my father ran along the back and fastened another lollipop with a rubber band. "Who's next?" asked my father, and then a second crocodile swam up and began sucking on that lollipop. "Now, you gentlemen can save us a lot of time if you just all line up going across the river," said my father, "and I will come along to give each one of you a lollipop." So the crocodiles lined right up across the river with their tails up in the air, waiting for my father to fasten on the rest of the lollipops. The tail of the 17th crocodile just reached the other bank. Next will be chapter 10, My Father Finds the Dragon.